To Meldon Law Monday. I'm Buddy Martin. The Buddy Martin Show is on the air. Glad to be with you tonight. Lots to talk about. What a huge weekend it was for softball and baseball. Man, one of the best series you ever want to see against the number one team in the country. Also, Shane's softball team did pretty well. Getting ready to host a regional. Good stuff happening. We'll talk about that tonight. Also, kind of a kickback, kind of a pushback on the new president, which we talked to Shane about. Mike Bianchi is not so sure about his so-called character. Well, you know, that's how it goes. Lots to talk about tonight. Franz joins us. Steve Russell. He will be here to sort of diagram and tell us what happened in that remarkable performance by the Florida Gator baseball team, especially the freshman pitcher. It was magnificent. So stand by. Go tell your friends and neighbors that the Buddy Martin Show, that's this right here, is now about to be on the air. Here we go.
Yes, it's time again for Buddy Martin. Call him up and tell him what you're thinking. But be kind because he's doing the best he can.
Better, stronger, faster.
Mama says that alligators are ornery because they got all them teeth but no toothbrush.
Hey, what if the voice calls while you're gone?
Take a message.
Bye.
You ready, champ?
I'm ready for this my whole life.
I'm incapable of small talk. But that's why you love me, right?
Kind of intimidating to be in the presence of so many great athletes.
Evening, welcome to the show. This hat has special significance. We'll see if anybody has any idea what it stands for, but we'll just leave that right there for you to chew on all night long. I bet you aren't going to get it. It doesn't say Florida does it, but it is orange and blue. It was quite the weekend. I think it's been a long time since we've seen a kind of character and the kind of guts and the team like this. Oh, wait a minute. It was a basketball team. There is a similarity here, stick with me, between how this baseball team is winning late in the season, nail biters like another team we know, which we saw all basketball season, and just when everybody counted them out, voila, they're back. And they could be hosting a regional. The Florida Gator baseball team should have won 3. Should have been a sweep, and they said they got a series against Texas, number 1 team in the nation. Now, I know this guy has a lot more experience in things like this, that he's played at the highest level. But I can tell you what it's like to be a freshman, standing on the mound against a team when you're unknown and being scared to death you can't throw strikes. But that wasn't the case of this guy. This guy was a remarkable 7-inning of shutout in the third game, and really should have been a shutout. Shane, not sure how much you got to see of that baseball series. It was a good one. Good evening to Shane Matthews, the host of Podup and Matthews.
Yeah, I'm kind of disagree with what you just said, buddy. There's no comparison between the basketball and the baseball team because the basketball team was dominant the whole year. Mm-hmm. Baseball team's playing well. Aidan King had a tremendous game Sunday for a freshman, but he's really not a freshman anymore. I think what Sully and the players have done has been remarkable to go 12-3 in their last 15 conference games, and hopefully they can find a way to win the series or sweep Alabama and continue their role. I mean, it's great they're winning, but I have a hard time. I thought the basketball team was dominant the whole year.
Well, I can take you back to some real nail biters where they were down quite a bit. One, of course, they didn't come back when I was Georgia. They were, I'm not saying they're the same caliber of teams. I'm saying the fashion which they won games where fans were sitting on the edge of their chair thinking, we lost it. Oh, no, we might win it. Oh, we won it, is this baseball team. I mean, look, to start out so badly, and of course the basketball team didn't have that problem. They started out pretty good. Start out 1-11 and come back and be in a contention now. They are, by the way, officially ranked now. Let's see what the rankings are. I got it here someplace. They're ranked at 21 by USA Today and 23 in D1 baseball. And they're probably going to host, it looks like here. They got the series against Alabama. I think the nerve-wracking aspect from the fan, and you tend to not get into that as much as others of us do, when you just see a team like this, you think, oh my gosh, are they going to blow this game? They had the bases loaded last night. It's just the way they're winning their games that's so tense and so impressive, and having young players come through, like you mentioned, Aidan King. I know what it's like, Shane. I'll never know what it's like for you to start a football game and play the way you played. I do know what it's like to stand on the mound as a freshman with Florida blazing across your chest as a pitcher and throw a ball game and sit there and think, I hope I get across the plate. And it's nerve-wracking. And I was lucky to win the game I pitched. But certainly I would never compare myself to Aidan King. Listen to this. As a true freshman in the SEC, he has 10 starts, 59 innings pitched, 2.90 ERA. It's a batting average, opponent's batting average is 218. So it's amazing. This is really why isn't he in the conversation? Maybe he is for SEC Freshman of the Year.
I couldn't tell you the answer to that. I don't follow baseball enough, and I'm sure there's tons of freshmen that are having pretty decent years. But he's been great. But buddy, when you compare yourself, being nervous or whatever on the mound for the Gators, that was your first start, right? I mean, I think any athlete, regardless if you're a 12-year vet in the NFL or a freshman or rookie, whatever, you always have butterflies, no matter how old you are, how much you've played. But you get more comfortable the more you play, right?
Yeah.
And they always talk about this guy was a rookie. Well, after you play 7 or 8 games, you're not a rookie anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not taking anything. I'm just saying that we've played 50-something games. These guys aren't really freshmen anymore, in my opinion, because they play almost an entire season. And it's been a great story, but you weren't nervous every time. I mean, every time you pitched, right?
Well, more nervous the first time, for sure.
Right.
But the point I'm trying to make here is I'm not comparing myself to him.
No, I'm just saying though, but I think everybody, when you make your first start, regardless if it's in Little League, college, the NFL, Major League Baseball, you're gonna be nervous as hell. You're gonna be nervous when you make your 50th start, but it's a different type of feeling.
But I do know what it's like too, to be standing out there as I was in my high school days. I played baseball all the way through, from Babe Ruth on up. I know it's like when you can't get the ball over the plate. You just can't. You're trying to get it across, and you can't get it over. And you sit there, and you're humiliated because you can't. You've lost your control, and you can't get it. So, I mean, this is no way comparing it. I did pitch to Ted Williams one time in a charity game. You think my hand wasn't shaking when I was throwing to Ted Williams? I mean,
Did you throw at his head, buddy?
You know what? It got loose on me, and it came up in air on him. And he took his bat and said, "Okay, Mr. Pitcher, watch your shins next time coming to the box." It was all mockery and fun and all that, but still, just the mighty Ted Williams to stand up there. You're trying to get the ball over the plate. Anyway, I'm not trying to compare myself to Aidan King. I want to go back to what Sully said. He was interviewed again today, and they asked him about the whole thing in Texas. And he said, well, I've seen freshmen go out before, and pitch well, but I've never seen a guy go on the road like that, and for 7 innings shut the team down, the number 1 team in the nation. So it was a remarkable thing he did there, without a doubt. And it was part of what Florida had for a terrific weekend. They should have really won all 3 games. If the rain doesn't come and they have to sit down their leading pitcher, Liam, Peterson, they probably win that game, probably. But when the rain came, he couldn't go back out there, and they ended up losing the game. Really on a one wrong field hit. Anyway, I think I'm trying to magnify what he did, what incredible. And Sully said it was asking what was the one thing that you think that you did. But he said we pitched well. That was a big thing. They pitched well. They hit one home run, I think. Then they hit one. So anyway, it was a really good feeling to see the baseball team do so well and come back now and be ranked, and now they're going to get a chance to host. So it seems as though there is something in the water in Gainesville. The football team finished strong, four straight. The basketball team won a national championship, and now the baseball team is going to make it back to the playoffs. And who knows what's going to happen with this team? I mean, stranger things have happened even last year. So I just want to heighten that by saying really impressive. And I was talking to my friend Carlton Reese today, who's really good about following these trends. If we went back and looked at the record of the football team in their last 4 games and charted the success of Florida sports since those 4 wins, right into football and then right into basketball, the remarkable run that Gator fans have had. It's been fun. Not to mention softball.
Well, you got women's lacrosse, you got women's golf, you got men's golf. I mean, look, we're pretty good at almost every sport we're in. We had a lull for a couple of years, and people should be excited.
Yeah, I don't know what to say on your show this morning. I didn't get a chance to hear it, but it feels like there's something special happening there. By the way, speaking of football, we're starting to get some of these post-spring rankings. Have you seen some of these?
I have not.
I don't pay too much attention to a lot of these guys, but there are 2 or 3 guys I do respect a lot. Do you know Josh Pate?
I know who he is. I don't know him personally.
He's a good football man. He knows football. He had an extensive interview with Billy, and he knows football. He gets coaches trust him. He gets really inside. He put out his post-spring 2025 rankings today. I want to get your comments on these, okay? We'll go backwards. All right? 25. Texas Tech, 25. Then Michigan. South Carolina, which is low, according to what I've been seeing. Georgia Tech. Ole Miss. Illinois up at 16. Illinois, they seem to be popping up. Texas A&M, Arizona State, Miami down to, what is that? I can't see that number. I think it's 12. And then Georgia, 11. Okay. There's your bottom 25, whatever, your bottom of your top 25. Then you've got next Oklahoma, 10, Florida, number 9, Ohio State, then Oregon, Notre Dame, LSU, which I'm not sure. I believe they're going to finish that high. Alabama's above them. Penn State, Texas, and number 1 team, Clemson. How about that?
I think their quarterback's back. He's been there. He's probably going to be a 5-year starter, I guess. Cade Klubnik. I think they got a lot of guys back. I mean, I have no idea about any of those teams, buddy. I think Florida has a chance to be pretty good. I'm surprised Ole Miss is low. I thought their schedule's not as difficult as many SEC teams, and I would put them much higher than that.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, Josh Pate probably knows. I mean, he studies these teams and goes and watches tape on. I don't, so I'd go with whatever he said, I guess.
Yeah, no, it's just fun to look at it and see what people are saying. I think that's pretty interesting. There, we'll talk more about it as the season progresses. I mean, I don't like to just randomly take any old poll. Some guy puts his name on it, puts it out like, here's my top 25. Who cares? You know what I mean? I don't care. If Shane Matthews has it, that's different.
I said on my show the other day, the 3 teams that intrigued me the most in the Southeastern Conference this coming year that kind of fly under the radar are Florida, Oklahoma, and Auburn. I think Oklahoma with Venables going and taking over the defense, bringing in a new offensive coordinator with his quarterback who put up huge numbers at Washington State. He's a really good player. And then I think Auburn is loaded at wide receiver. They had tons of true freshmen that were studs last year. They got in the top receiver out of the portal from Georgia Tech. They got a quarterback that knows how to play a little bit. And they're always good. They've been good on defense. I just think Auburn's going to surprise some people this year. And then obviously I
hear that. Yeah, I hear a little Auburn talk on chatter going back and forth. And I agree with you. Ole Miss might be a little too low on this particular poll. South Carolina's getting a lot of run. In this poll, they're all the way down to 17, what did I say, or 18, whatever they are. But they're getting a lot of run for a lot of polls. Anyway, we'll have a lot to talk about there. Georgia being that low is surprising. But we'll see. I do think they got it right on Penn State and Texas. And I'm not sure Alabama or LSU, which one I'd take over the other.
I think LSU's loaded this year. They probably have, within the SEC, probably the best portal class. They got a lot of good players from other schools that played a lot of football. We'll see. They got a good quarterback, really good skill guys. I don't know about their defense, but I think it could be one of the better LSU teams they've had in a while.
You think Nussmeier should be the leading candidate for the Heisman, or should it be Arch? Should it be
well, Nussmeier's Garrett's played a lot more football than any of them.
Right, he has.
I think he's pretty damn good. I don't get caught up in the whole Heisman thing, but I think he's an outstanding quarterback.
Yeah. Yeah, so, we're going to talk a little more baseball at the moment about what's ahead. And matter of fact, let's do this while we're doing this. I'm going to go get Steve Russell. He's their boy. He knows more about it than all of us put together, and bring him in and talk a little baseball about what's ahead for these Gators. What a tremendous performance in hell, Steve, how you doing? Say hello to Shane.
Hey, guys. Shane here. What's up?
How we doing, Steve?
Okay, bud.
I just want to know, were you as impressed as I was at what happened in Texas, especially with the freshman pitcher?
Yes, very impressive. You look at what Florida did. I believe they allowed 8 runs. That's it, and 5 in one game. So against a team like Texas, you give up 8 runs in 3 games, got a really good chance to win. They took 2 of them, did what they had to do. Most people think 13 gets them into a regional. But, buddy, I think if they can take 2 against Alabama here and end up square at 15 and make a run in the SEC tournament, I think they have a shot to host. Now, who knows? Because there's a big log jam of teams within 2 games in the SEC, and Alabama's one of them. So, but the turnaround's been remarkable.
They only hit 1 home run this weekend, Steve. Today.
Yeah, Texas can pitch. That's the one thing. Texas reminds me of Arkansas last year, because Arkansas could really pitch it, but couldn't really do a lot offensively. Texas reminds me of them a year ago. And I think when you get to the postseason like this, you can't just rely on your pitching. Your hitting has got to complement that. If I'm Texas, I'm a little bit concerned.
Yeah, I mean, heck yeah. So it was really fun to watch and exciting baseball games. I've tried to pitch Shane the idea that there's a similarity with all this going on. The excitement of the basketball games coming from behind, excitement of the baseball games coming from behind. I'm not saying that comparing the 2 teams, but the journey is very similar. And then even the football team went in the last 4 of the season. So they're on a bit of a run here. If you took that date, say in November, and you mark their progress and the victories by these teams till now, it's been quite a run for the Gators, if you're a Gator fan.
Sure, but you don't like to see, buddy, the way it's been the last 2 years where they had to dig themselves out of a huge hole. Give them credit for doing that, and we all know what happened last year. They went all the way to Omaha and got hot at the right time, and that's the beauty of baseball, because you play 56 games. You can afford to not be good for stretches of time, unlike football where you lose a couple, you're almost done. you can afford to not be good for part of a year, catch fire, and then do what Florida's doing now, what they did last year too. So kudos to Kevin O'Sullivan. Kudos for both these teams for not quitting and getting it together.
Yeah, I want to bring Shane back in here too because I want him to. Shane, did you see the whole? I got a chance to watch more baseball the last 2 weekends than I've watched all year, and the Gators specifically. Did you watch the whole series, Shane, or just catch a couple of games? How much did you get to see of it?
I'll be honest, buddy. I didn't watch a lot of it.
Yeah.
I watched a little bit, a few innings here and there. I have a hard time, and I grew up a diehard baseball guy. Basketball and baseball are my sports. But in today's world, I don't know if I'm getting old, but I cannot. I'll watch college now. Once these regionals start, I'll watch. I've not watched one inning of Major League Baseball yet this year. Not one.
Wow.
Which is crazy for me. Now I'll throw a softball game on in any minute now because maybe I just love softball more now because it's more fast paced. But to answer your question, I probably saw 3 innings of the Texas series.
Well, that was a good one. That was exciting. I'll tell you all the way through. Well, since we're on softball, let's talk about it. What a storybook ending there last weekend, Shane, for Tim Walton and the great celebration and to come out of there beating Oklahoma twice and now going into this regional, going to host a regional and starting Friday, I guess it is. The baseball starts Thursday, right?
Yep, Thursday. Yep.
And then the softball team is exciting. I mean, the Falvey parade just never ends. I saw her mother on one of our shows the other night. She was delightful. She's a former Seminole, She's from FSU. And what Falvey's done is I get a kick out of her. She has the Shane Matthews heart rate, because she never, all that excitement out in the outfield, everybody's chanting, Falvey, Falvey. She's just stoic. Even Walton said she can at least wave, do something. But it's been fun to watch that softball team. And I got a shot here. And I'll ask Shane, first of all, you talked to your buddy Tim Walton, and how excited is he about what's happening?
Well, look, I mean, what's the old saying, death, taxes, and Gator softball to Oklahoma City? I mean, Tim's been here 20 years, Steve. We've been to the World Series, 15, 16 times? I don't know what it is. It's crazy. This has a chance. I mean, I said at the beginning of the year, I thought this was the best team he was going to have because of the lineup and because of Rothrock. Now, she was out a majority of the season. She has not been the same. She's had glimpses here and there of pitching like she has in the past. And then, Ava Brown's come in and done her job, and then the freshman Red Oxley. But if Rothrock softball is the craziest sport. Yes, you want to get the high seeds so you can host super regionals, all that. But it's going to be the same cast of characters usually in Oklahoma City. However, I think softball's gotten a lot of parity around the country with NIL and just the SEC in general. But if you have that pitcher, you have a chance because they're going to hit. They might have the freshman of the year. I don't know who else is out there. But Taylor Shoemaker's had a phenomenal year in right field and at the plate. And they got All-Americans at the catcher position with Jocelyn Erickson. They got Corey Otis. They got Falvey. Mia Williams has been the surprise. I mean, she's leading the team in home runs. And she swung the bat like me, you, and Buddy and Steve, all of us last year. Couldn't hit at all. So, Look, it's all about postseason. I said it all year long, Buddy. It doesn't matter what happens in SEC play. Yes, you want to win the SEC. Coaches get bonuses and all that stuff. You get rings. But in softball especially, it is postseason. And maybe I look at it the wrong way, but that's how I feel.
I kind of like the journey. I enjoyed the games that leading up to that. And what about you, Steve?
Well, first of all, I'll echo what Shaner said. Tim Walton has done an absolutely phenomenal job since taking over here. They are 50-9 in regionals under Tim Walton. 50-9. That's ridiculous, but that's what his record is. And the great thing about Tim is he knows talent, but then coaches the talent. And look, he knows what buttons to push And I think some of the kids I've talked to over the years that have, been under him have said that. He'll chew you sometimes, pat you on the shoulder sometimes. He knows how to get the best from his players, and the player expectation is there too. There's no misunderstanding there. The players understand what the expectation is. The players understand what Tim Walton expects of them. And, you look at his teams, they get along, they play hard. And, look at the SEC again this year with 13 teams in the regionals from softball. So it's going to be a lot of fun to see how many survive here.
It is that for sure. You talked about that golden gut and that decision making. You were talking about Sully. When to take the pitcher out, when to leave him in. We saw that case on the last game against Texas, whether to pull the start a relief pitcher and bring in another guy. And Sully does have a short leash. I mean, my gosh, he'd use the whole bullpen and then if he could get him in if he needed him, which has worked well for him. For Walton, I thought maybe he might have left Rothrock in a little too long there the second time around. She did look like she was winded Shane a little bit, or she wasn't as sharp as she had been. But that's when I wondered if she was also still injured.
Well, I'm sure I don't know the extent of her injury, but she is nowhere near the pitcher she was last year. She's had moments where she'll mow people down, have 2 or 3 really good innings, and then she hits 2 batters, 2 walks. Next thing you know, it's a base hit, then a 3-run homer. It's kind of what happened against Ole Miss in the first game again in the SEC tournament. But doesn't matter what's happened in the past now. If Keegan Rothrock is on her game, I expect this team to be in Oklahoma City. They'll play, they should win their regional. I think it's an interesting matchup because I want to say Lindsay FICO, Steve, did she play for Tim or was she here before Tim?
No, played for Tim.
Yeah, so she's the head coach of the Mercer Bears, and they're coming in here. So I think that's kind of a cool storyline.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Here's a criticism from Charles Todd Sullivan for president. Softball struggles against left-handed pitching, and pitchers giving up too many free passes. They can win it all, but that stuff has got to be cleaned up. You agree with that, Shane?
Well, yeah, that's at any level, softball or baseball. If you walk, you just can't walk and hit batters. I was listening to Steve and Jeff a couple of weeks ago coming home from golf. I think it's when we played South Carolina. Yeah. And from the time I got left from the golf course and got home, they had walked like 5 straight batters. And old Steve was going ballistic. Not us, but the other team. How you can pitch so poorly at that level. I agree.
Yeah. I mean, major leaguers have tough days sometimes, but yeah, when you're at that level, you got to throw strikes. And South Carolina has struggled a lot in part because they can't throw strikes.
A little bit of that happened in the baseball game last night, yesterday in the innings. They had 2 out, and Texas got those walks. And now all of a sudden a grand slam beats you, and it got a little nervous out there for him. So they came out. I thought he might make a change, but he didn't. He stayed with his guy, and it worked out well. But boy, I tell you, it is knowing when to hold and when to fold him, and Steve, and who to put in and when. That's all part of the game.
It is, and look, Clemente's the closer, and he's established himself as that, and I think he's earned a bit of a longer leash now because of what he's done since he's been moved to the closer role. And what Florida has done, fellas, with the pitching the way it's been, McNeely's not been particularly effective. Up until recently, their starting pitchers hadn't gone particularly deep in games. So he's had to mix and match, getting an inning here, 2 innings there from different people. And what I love about the way he's managed or coached, when he's seen an opportunity to win a game, and especially to win it, to clinch a series, he's not saving a pitcher for the next day. He's bringing in the guy who he believes is going to win the game on that day, so they know. Yeah, I mean, I would have said last year, but you're right, buddy. I think you factor the injuries in here, and look, trying to find guys on the pitching staff. Aidan King's been a godsend, as a young pitcher to do what he's done. They moved Clemente, who was going to be a starter, didn't work out. Philpott really hasn't worked out. He's been really up and down. McNeely's been up and down. So just finding those pitching pieces. And then remember, they're doing this without Shelton, who's not playing now, right?
Yeah.
Kyle Jones was going to be in the lineup regularly. He's been gone almost the entire year. So, yeah, considering the injuries, considering all of that. And look, I'm sure Shane's never been on a team that started 1-11, but they were 1-11 in the SEC, fellas.
Yeah.
That's terrible. And they didn't flinch. And that's coaching and that's character of the guys on the team.
He was asked on what's it called, Rally Captain show, about that today, and about how they kept it going. He said that that was the thing. The thing was they needed to bring it back, and they really had the will to bring it back. They wanted to bring it back, and they thought they could bring it back. They knew they were better. But when you talk about the injuries, you look who all they lost. They lost them in one group, and they asked him about the injuries, how he dealt with it, and he said, well, it makes the lineup card easier to fill out. He said, because he said, we don't have but 10 position players. Is that right, Steve? 10 position players?
It's more than that, but not much more than that. Because you're talking. I think he meant guys that play a lot, right? He's got other guys, but he's had to mix and match. Evans was hurt for a while. He's now come back and done a nice job. Wilson in the outfield, and Yost has played well. All of a sudden, he's starting to hit, and that's the other thing. Other guys, every once in a while, in the big leagues especially, you'll get a hitter or two will carry a team for a week or two. Well, now this lineup is pretty deep. The 1 through 9 right now. If I'm pitching against this bunch, they're tough outs right now. Tough outs.
I'm gonna throw some at you guys. Shane, this is for you particularly because this whole thing with the new president, and I know we talked about a lot on this show, Shane, and you said, hey, as long as the guy likes sports is willing to give us a fair shake and realizing that we can't be signing all these out-of-state guys and giving in sports. Anyway, you can say it better than I can. You like
it's not about signing the out-of-state. What I said, buddy, is I know nothing about the president. Okay. I hope our new president realizes how important sports are to the college, to the alumni.
Yeah, and
I talked about the admissions. I've had my rant on Steve's shows many a times about the admissions of legacy and all that stuff. It has nothing to do with out-of-state athletes. It's just about kids that have tremendous grades that have been wanting to come to the University of Florida. Hopefully, they will address that. I know nothing about the president. Nothing I can do about the president. I just hope we're going to be a great academic institution, regardless if I became the president. That's just what we are. But we need somebody who likes sports, in my opinion. Or who thinks sports are important, I should say.
Yeah. Okay. Let me read you this. I was joined by Franz. This is Mike Bianchi's column today. This is his take on it. Okay. I know sometimes Mike can get a little radical, but he talks about the fact he throws some shade at the new president because he turned his head on this whole cheating scandal with Harbaugh and stealing the signals. And he talks about this and he says, not on the list, on his long list of scholarly achievements is his most notable accomplishment at the University of Michigan. Provost Emeritus of plausible deniability during the Wolverines' march to the national championships 2 seasons ago. All those defining moments at Michigan didn't take place in a lab or a lecture hall. It came amid the most high-profile college football scandal in a decade, the infamous sign-stealing operation that implicated Jim Harbaugh and his staff in a sophisticated and systematic scheme to illegally gather opponents' play signals. As the Wolverines marched toward their first national title in 26 years, Ono protected Harbaugh even more diligently than Michigan's offensive line protected J.J. McCarthy. Ono stood resolutely behind Harbaugh, talking about how he trusted, quote unquote, the head coach and how Harbaugh was, and I swear I'm not making this up, quote, a man of honor, unquote. All right, let's give Shane a first crack at that.
I mean, like I said, I don't get into any of that stuff. Like I don't look. Everybody's going to have issues with, regardless of who's hired or who's fired or whatever. Whoever our next president is, I hope they support our football, basketball, baseball, golf programs, and obviously they'll do their job academically. But I'm not going to lose any sleep over it.
Okay, Shane. All right. I can't get you into these discussions because you just don't care. That's all right.
I don't. I mean, they could go hire Steve Russell or you, buddy, as the president. What am I going to do about it? There's nothing. I mean,
Steve and I would do the job, but we would do good. I will say.
I mean, look, I don't waste my time on this kind of stuff. I got better things to do.
You want to play golf, I know.
Yes,
so
exactly.
Here's the deal. Steve, coincidentally, at the same time, Florida's bragging about setting the team semester GPA record with a 3.48, breaking their previous mark of 3.37 spring GPA set in 2024. The team posted a program best cumulative GPA of 3.46, eclipsing the record of 3.34. I'm impressed because my average wasn't that high. So academics are supposedly met. All right, Steve, jump in here on this thing with the president. Give me your thoughts.
Well, it's funny. Mikey and I go back a long way. He and I were neighbors at one point in the same subdivision. I've known him a long time, and I agree. I did a similar piece for TV20 that I do with them because I agree with a lot of what he said, and I also echoed some of the same things. First of all, he was only there for 3 years. Why would you choose to leave? Now, I don't know what the money is. I don't know what all that is, but he did turn his back. He did turn a blind eye to everything that Harbaugh was doing when that sign stealing scandal became public. He did nothing. He did nothing to discipline Harbaugh. He did nothing to discipline the program. Moore just got a 2-game suspension. Didn't do anything there either. So is that the right message you want to send? Because this institution, University of Florida, has always prided itself on not cheating, on not doing the wrong things. And you're going to get a president in here who, very obviously to me, did just that. He turned his back and turned a blind eye when all that was happening. They cheated. That sign stealing scandal, buddy, was awful. I get Shane's point, right, about, does the average fan care about that if he becomes president? No, I don't think that they do. But it does, for me, bring into question why you would bring somebody in as your school president who has done what he did concerning Harbaugh. That's my biggest complaint.
All right, thank you. All right, Franz, have at
it. This is one of these occasions when I see both sides of it. First off, I think that he did turn the blind eye. The second thing is we don't know what kind of pressure he was under to do that by whoever, which might be why he has chosen to leave Michigan after 3 years. Is he may have said, I've had enough of this crap. I can't take it. This is what this is what they held over my head. And I think that we've all seen situations where the school president may have done some things we didn't think he should have done. I'll give you a perfect example. Marshall Kreiser, face-to-face, told Charlie Pell, you're fine. I'm not going to do anything. We will back you up to the hilt. And then he fired him. Okay? So presidents do a lot of things that I agree with you, Steve, that he did. It's blatant cheating, and Florida has prided itself on keeping its nose clean for the last 6 years now. Ever since Steve Spurrier came along, that changed everything because Steve won't cheat, and we all know that. He won't even cheat at golf. Shane can tell you that.
Oh no. Nobody cheats at golf. Golf's the greatest sport because you have rules. You don't have to worry about somebody calling holding on touchdown pass. The rules are the rules.
Well, and let's face it, there's no gimme putt. There's no gimme putts
No, you
with
put
Steve
everything out.
Spurrier. You know, I understand that. You know, we've seen it both ways at the University of Florida. Is this guy? My bigger question would be, did the Board of Trustees ask him about this, and were his answers satisfactory enough that they said, okay?
Fair point.
I think that's the better question here. And the second question, again, I would go back to this. What kind of pressure was he under? Was he blatantly saying, okay, I didn't see, was he doing a Sergeant Schultz? I see nothing, you know, or was he did he kind of have it held over his head? You will not do this, or else we will ruin you forever. Do boosters do stuff like that? Oh, you bet your boots they do. So I don't know. Again, it's one of these 6 of one, half dozen of the other things. I'd like to know, did the Board of Trustees ask him the questions? That would satisfy me, because if the Board of Trustees asked him the questions and he gave them satisfactory answers, then okay, we're good with it. If he told them, hell yeah, I turned my back on it, and they took him on, then we got a problem.
All right, that's good. All right, I'm gonna let Shane go get his milk and cookies. I know also Steve's got to get out of here. Just gonna be me and you talk a little hoops, Franz, here for a minute, talking about Todd Golden's latest comments and how we're looking back on his success and what that's all about, and also the book you're working on. So let me say goodnight. Shane, who you got on the show tomorrow?
You, buddy. Bring your A game, buddy.
I got you. I'll have it. Everyone. You know, there's something wrong with our schedule. I keep you awake at night, keeping you up, and you get me up early in the morning to do your show.
Well, you're the only person in the world that has a talk show this late at night. Some of us go to bed early, buddy.
No, it's not true. There are others that have one, but
I'm teasing you.
Not everybody goes to bed at 9 o'clock at night.
You're Johnny Carson. Johnny Carson's sports talk show.
Well, I don't want to be today's show. Wake up at 6 either. But I'll see you in the morning. Glad to be on.
All right.
Thank
see
you,
you guys. Take care.
See you, Shaner.
All right,
buddy.
Steve,
thank you.
Thank you, Steve.
Okay.
Before you go, one more final thought.
Sure.
On the baseball team and where this thing stands. You called a lot of games and you've seen all this team well, Sully. This to me is a very exciting season. Am I wrong about that? Because it seems to me like the excitement they brought. I mean, just think about what they did. They started the season at 1-11. They just beat Texas 2 out of 3. They should have beaten all 3. Would they have won that other game if it hadn't rained? Maybe. It's very possible, right?
Yes. Oh, it's been an exciting season. Let me think of a better word. It's been an up and down season, obviously, like last year was, but it's not how you start, buddy. It's how you finish. Mm-hmm. And right now, Florida, just like last year, is finishing in the right way. I'm doing the Alabama series this weekend, and I don't sell Alabama short. They've got a kid who's got 15 saves in the bullpen, and he doesn't throw like 90 miles an hour. Osney's his name. And they can hit the ball, and their coach, they play like their coach. They play tough, very hard. I hope they won't, but Alabama's also fighting for position in the league. They're fighting to host a regional as well. So they've got a lot to play for here, as does Florida.
Steve, I got a question I need to ask you. We've been around basically about the same amount of time here in Gainesville. Do you remember in the SEC a turnaround like this ever by any team? I can't remember one.
You know, somebody asked me that the other day, and top of my head, Franz, I would say no. I can't, not 1-11. You know, you might have started out 5-10 or something and gotten better, but not 1-11. No, I don't ever remember that happening. And, you know, the other side of this coin, fellas, is what happened to Texas A&M. They were preseason ranked number 1 in a lot of polls. And Missouri just swept them for their first 3 wins of the SEC and probably knock them out of a regional short of winning the SEC tournament. A stunning turnaround the other way around.
The team that was the preseason #1 for everybody.
Yeah, right. That's what I'm saying.
Steve Russell, Steve, what's the name of your show? So tell people how to find it.
Sure. It is Sportscene podcast. We do that Mondays and Fridays at noon. And Cardozo and I tomorrow at 11 o'clock, we'll do our On Deck show, our podcast. We'll talk baseball. We'll talk a little softball as we do every week. Enjoy doing that with Jeff. We'll do that tomorrow.
Steve Russell, thank you, buddy. Sure appreciate it.
Anytime, buddy. Franz, good to see you, buddy.
Good to see you too, Steve.
Okay, we'll see you, fellas.
All right. And meanwhile, I forgot to do commercials. Let me go ahead and talk about Meldon Law. My friends over there, they did such a great job, as you know. I'm big fans of theirs, and of course, certainly of Jeffrey, who's unique in regard to his school and his devotion to the Gators. Came down here from Cleveland many years ago, and been a Gator ever since then. And what a Gator he's been. In fact, as I'm thinking about this book Franz is working on the Gator basketball team, I think it'd be really fun to follow people like Bill Koss, your friend, would be like Jeffrey Meldon during their time, because Jeffrey was in heaven going out there. I know you saw him out in Texas, down in California. So Meldon Law, they're so closely aligned with the University of Florida. You almost forget they do practice law. They do, and they're very good at what they do. And I would encourage you, if you have a need, there are 4 locations to serve you. Meldon Law, College Gainesville, Wilson, and Lake City. Meldon Law, they won't back down.
I want to say one thing about Jeffrey. Jeffrey is as good a human being as you'll find. And if you're looking, if you're looking for a lawyer who'll cut corners, don't go see him. If you're looking for a guy that's a good human being that'll treat you right, that's who you need to see.
Good to say. Good. Thank you for that. I want to say 2 things. First of all, Walter Clayton has official measurements now for the draft. Not that this is any big surprise. How tall do you think he is barefooted?
6'1.5".
6'2". What's his weight?
Probably 205.
Close to 199. He has a 6.4 wingspan and an 8.5 inch foot standing reach. So there's that. And just checking in because we're going to be watching in the NBA soon. And then I want to talk to you about gold. Here's someone knocking at your door, Franz. Thought I heard someone knocking at your door. Oh, okay. That's what that is. Okay. All right. So Todd Golden, looking at someone said to ask him about his success. And he said he thinks they're having a strong offseason already. He said the Gators have made moves already. Florida has added 2 guards. You know about A.J. Brown, obviously Xavier Lee. This should Ingram and Lloyd coming in. Talk about Lloyd a little bit. I don't know much about him. And then he said the key to our success was retention. He told Katz that, Andy Katz. He says, we got Will Richard and Walter Clayton back that year. That was huge getting them back. And he said the key to our success was retention. You talk about retention a lot. This guy's got it going now. He's in the market. They said for one more guy, Franz. What's going on there? What do you see them going after? And what's the progress report?
Well, he's going to go after one more guy. And I think he probably is just going to settle for one more big guy. I don't think he's going and maybe somebody who's like an in-between big guy, like, for example, Tommy Hawk. Tommy Hawk is not a pure big guy per se. He's not a guy that you're just going to line him up there and play, at center. He's a guy that, you can play him minutes there. You can play him minutes to the high post. You can run him on the baseline. You can even play him on the perimeter. And I think that's the kind of guy he's going to get. There's a kid out of Pepperdine that I like named Butka that is 6'9", about 220, 225, who just finished his freshman year, really, really strong. Comes out of the same conference that Todd came out of, the West Coast Conference. He played at Pepperdine. So I think that's a guy that they're looking very strongly at. And I think they could pick up more than just one guy. I think depends on what happens with international kids in the draft. I know there's a big Serbian kid they've been looking at, who's I've seen him everywhere from in the first round to not drafted at all. He's a guy, Ben Henshaw, a kid out of Australia, another one, and he's another guy that's kind of like Tommy Hawk, 6'8", maybe 215. Strong kid, can play a lot of places. Just plug him in and play him, and he'll be there. I think that they've decided that they are going to be good at the point. I think they think Klavjar can play the point. I think that they really believe in this kid Alex Lloyd coming in, that he can play the point. Alex Lloyd is going to astonish you at how much you're going to be thinking this could be the next Walter Clayton here. He's a guy that can make shots that you can't, the kind of shots that you used to, that, kind of reminds me of when Monty Tao was playing at North Carolina State. Norm Sloan would say, "Don't you, what a great shot you just made." Todd Golden had, I think, that same effect with Walter. I think he looked at Walter sometimes and thought, "Don't you? Oh my gosh, he made it!" Type of thing. Because these guys have such supreme confidence in their shot making ability, buddy, that their brain is the only thing that knows whether it's a good shot or not. You and I looking at it might think that's a terrible shot. And as many basketball games as we've seen, as many shots as we've seen thrown up there, we would say a lot of the shots Walter threw up there were bad shots and they went in. But that's what great shot makers do. They make the good shots look easy. They make the bad shots go in. And this is a kid that can do that. You got CJ Ingram in there, who I'm convinced is not finished growing. He's not shaving yet. He's just barely 18. He's 6'6.5", almost 6'7". Dean Smith told me once, and I've paid attention to it, Billy Donovan also said the same thing to me, that if a kid's shaving, he's stopped growing. If he's not shaving, he's still got growth in him. CJ he's not anywhere close to shaving. I mean, my goodness, his idea of shaving would be taking a washcloth and some soap to his face. But he's 6'6", 6'7", buddy. And he is a guy that's just all over the court. He will show up where the basketball is, and he'll find ways to put it in the basket. He'll find ways to come up with the loose ball. He'll get the rebounds, etc. So I like the guys that Todd's got. Now, you mentioned the word retention. I think Condon's coming back. Unless Condon shows up at the combine and goes lights out and moves into that top 20 to 24 pick, I say Condon is coming back. Ruben's coming back. Don't worry about Ruben. He's coming back. He's just there to get the experience, go and get some better guys and really get some understanding of what he needs to do to take the next steps. I think Condon isn't ready to leave college yet. I think he and Tommy want to go out together. I think they're there. I think they're that close of friends, and I think they want to go out together. And I think that those two guys, along with Ruben and along with Micah, those four in particular, I think those four guys have looked at each other and say, everybody talked about the perimeter getting it done last year, and that's why we won it. Why not win it this year because of the big guys?
Time for one more before we have to go. And I want to say that, I don't know if you've seen these preseason polls. Most recent one I saw in basketball was that Florida picked 9th. Thought that was interesting in view of the fact of what I saw today also in football with Josh Pate. I mentioned this to Shane earlier. I don't really follow too many preseason rankings. Someone gets they post up, they get a Facebook page, they post their rankings like I care. But this is from Josh Pate. I thought this was very interesting. He posts his 2025 rankings, and you might be surprised at a couple of them. He didn't have either Miami or Georgia in the top in the first 10, or even Ole Miss, by the way, just so you know. But the teams he does have, number one is Clemson, which is kind of a surprise. Number two is Texas, not a surprise. 3, Penn State seems to be picked by a lot of people. Alabama's 4th, which that sounds a little high to me. LSU is 5th, which still might be a little high. Notre Dame is 6th. Oregon is 7th. Ohio State 8th. That's pretty low for what I've seen. Florida 9, and Oklahoma 10. So that would make Florida in the preseason polls in football and basketball 9th in both.
You know something, buddy? I can agree with a lot of what he's saying because Clemson's got Cade Klubnik back, extraordinary quarterback. Texas has Manning and Eli Manning, whatever his name is. I can't even remember it. There's so many of them. Arch. Okay. Arch, Eli, Peyton, you name it. It's a Manning. Okay. But you look at who doesn't have, Georgia doesn't have a starting quarterback coming back. I don't think Alabama's got a starting quarterback coming back. Ohio State doesn't have a starting quarterback coming back. I'm not sold. Garrett Nussmeier, the Gators sacked him 6 times last year, and that was with supposedly the best offensive line in the country. And this year they're rebuilding the offensive line. I don't think they beat Florida this year. Florida's got a lot of good things going for them. Miami's got Carson Beck. I'm not sold on Carson Beck. You've heard me over the years. I've never been sold on Carson Beck. I think I think it's a time that I would use the word ripe. I think the time is ripe for Florida to make a move. And
okay,
here's the thing.
We got 30 seconds, Franz. Where we at here? Go ahead.
Here's the thing that I would find that's interesting. Billy has built the team from the ground up. How did Todd build his team? From the ground up. You just add a transfer or two here and there to fill in the blanks. So very, very similar approach. Big payoff a lot quicker than Billy has, but say
could be. All right, we'll wrap it up right there, Francis. Great stuff as usual. Don't forget, check him out on GatorBayMedia.com. We'll talk more about the books coming up. I talked to our buddy tonight. He's excited about this book on basketball, which Franz will be doing, man. Thanks a lot, Francis. Have a good night,
Thanks.
brother.
Bye.
All right, Franz Beard. Gives me just enough time to tell you folks about Titan MRI. Titan MRI and imaging is acquired Highfield MRI. Joe Colorea did, and he started Highfield in 1997. Now he's back. Titan MRI and Imaging has 3 locations to serve you, 2 in Gainesville, with the Spark Avenue location, and now at the Millennium as well. Titan MRI can take care of your needs with your CAT scans, of course, with your MRIs. They accept insurance, and through their convenient self-pay plan, you can make a plan for yourself so you can handle it if you don't have the insurance. So I want to be sure and let you know about that. Self-pay options. They offer MRIs, CAT scans, X-rays, ultrasounds, easy scheduling with lots of options, including evenings. Large MRI machines for patient comfort, no ERs, no hospitals. Titan MRI and Imaging location near you if you're in Northwest Florida. I want to thank our guests tonight for the usual Monday night lineup. Tomorrow night, Lauren Meadows will be here. Want to be sure and check him out. He always does a good show. He's got to go in tomorrow night. And I want to thank you for listening and watching, and thank all of our sponsors. Have a great night, folks.